How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the OGs. Hope you're all good. 5 minutes late. Not too bad, not too good, but you know what it is already. Hit the like button. A couple hundred people waiting. A super chat already there waiting. Don't worry, I'll get into the super chats, the live chat, all of that as we go. You know what the OGs are about. Big up Curtis back in the building. Back-to-back lives as well. You just finished on your channel.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot to talk about. It's not what we want to be talking about, but there's a lot to talk about nevertheless anyway, you know what I mean? I just want to say, though, like, if anyone does want to sponsor this show, like, don't worry, you're all right. As long as you send emails, maybe don't meet him face to face, but we don't mind being sponsored. You know what I mean? You know, I was tempted to just grab 1 month just to calm you down. Like, I watched the video, I said, "Raw, you know what? I might download that for a month."
To calm you down.
I was gonna message you like, "Yo, I've grabbed it for a month, man. Don't worry about it."
Hey, bro, you know what? My head was hot. You know, I was thinking, I gotta do this. I can't be fake. You know, that's one thing I struggle with. I just, you know what? I thought I'm just gonna deliver it. We're gonna see how it goes. Once it got uploaded, the first 3 of the 4 comments was about the sponsor, but it was saying like they're not going to be happy about this. So I'm thinking, shit. So I quickly call Matisse. He's live. I call Scar because I need to get a second review of how I've implemented this thing. By the time I've called them and they've called me back, the comments are going off. No Context has tweeted it out. Bro, that promo's gone everywhere. Obviously, that wasn't, well, it's the intention of a promo, but yeah, it is what it is, bro.
Oh, it was better than probably any other promo you've done. That's the craziest thing about it. Probably got more views, you know what I mean?
Natural. That's what Rush was saying. He said, "Got the VPN, please don't harm me or my pets." Bro, the comment section has been too funny. Twitter has been too funny. I can't lie to you. It's actually mad. But yeah, if you need a VPN, people, this one ain't sponsored today, but go to the match reaction yesterday, man. You'll see what Curtis is talking about.
Another classic, man. Listen, I tell you, doing these lives, you know, hosting them and watching your own team, you wonder, like, with your reaction sometimes, but this is what it does to you, bro. You know what I mean? You get so vexed with the team.
Yeah.
Anything can happen on these watch-alongs.
Like, yeah, it's funny as well because I get some comments, and yesterday I got a comment from someone that's been watching me for a long time, like someone that's supportive, agree or disagree. And he's like, I'm genuinely worried about you, Turkish. Like, you get too angry, and I'm thinking, do I get too angry? I'd like, bro, it is what it is. I just can't see us drop points and come out of it smiling. Really, there's still a couple hours adjustment period. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not.
No, it is what it is, man. It's just, I think you take it as it comes, innit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Come on, bro. You're the same anyway. My man ripped off his shirt one year.
Yeah, man. You know, I was getting hot, bro. I said, nah, no, to take that off, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can't hold it in, bro. When you it's mad. I'm not even gonna go in on about it, but that sponsorship was. I can't lie. That was one of my. When I look back on it now, I'm laughing, even though it's not a result to laugh about. I'm laughing. I can't even.
Yeah, for real.
David Koo, actually, to be honest, that is the big news going around. But you know what? Bro, a few weeks ago, I called for all fans to get together or player to slap one of them, or all fans to get together and cause a bit of noise about this together, because it's a problem football wide in this country. It's not a Liverpool problem. It's not an Arsenal problem. It's not a City. It's not United, etc. Wolves and whoever. It's a football problem, and this further just highlights this ain't an isolated incident. You look 100%. At that and you think, how many others talk like that behind the scenes? How many others feel away when a manager comes out after a game and slyly puts it on them? It's one thing the FA turning around and fining said individual. It's another thing that comment hurting one of these officials, that they hold on to it to the point where they're calling a legendary manager a CUNT.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like, and the whole foreign referee thing, I think is more applicable than ever right now to come in, because there's no guarantee there's not going to be bias there as well in some way, shape or form, but you're going to limit it a lot more than we're seeing now. What do you make of that? Because a lot of people were saying, is this AI at the beginning? But nah, it's not AI.
No, but listen, I mean, I've said for a long time on my channel that I believe there's corruption in the referees. Reality of the situation is these refs are football fans. Now, I'll be honest. If I became a ref and I'm a big Arsenal fan, something might happen where, you know, it goes in the favour, or, you know, Man City are playing and is that a penalty? I'll give it against them because I'm an Arsenal fan. You're still a human being at the end of the day. I've said for years, we've got players from abroad, managers, owners from abroad. Why can't you have referees from abroad at the end of the day? Richest league in the world, but they decide to stick with English referees who are not good enough at their job. And in terms of him, and I suppose, listen, in any work environment, if you work with someone who gives you a hard time, you're not going to like them. He obviously feels like Klopp gives him a hard time, so he comes out saying that. Now, what he said is obviously shocking. And for him to feel comfortable enough to say that on camera is like, what did you... Even the second video where he's saying, you know, this can't go out. Well, that guy obviously thought, I got a few debts, man. I'm selling this to the Daily Mail. Probably got 50 bags for that. You know what I mean? That's a big, big story that's out there. So I'm not surprised. And I think other referees have probably done similar things in the past. But this just opens a can of worms now. There's been a lot of Arsenal fans saying the refs hate us, blah, blah, blah. Liverpool fans online today saying, are you sure about that? Look at... And he's made 5 or 6 big decisions. You see, like, I think Pickford did Van Dijk's ACL. He never sent him off. Like, crazy, man. So I'm kind of glad it's been exposed, to be honest.
Yeah, something now needs to happen about it. And I know the PGM have moved quickly to suspend him and investigate and all of that stuff. But the reality is, it's a bigger burning issue than what you do with this Coot guy or Coots or whatever his name is. I don't shit. Like, well, if you forget what you do with him, whether it's a lifetime ban, whether he goes to the 4th division, whatever happens to him happens. It doesn't eliminate the problem we've had with it and the problems that come from this as well. Because listen, foreign refs are not, like I said, because a couple of people are saying foreign refs are not great either, or some of them are not great. That's fair enough, but you have to eliminate all risks possible, and it's hard to grow up in this country and not have some bias. Even if you don't like football, a close friend likes football, or a close family member likes football, or an associate, or so on. You know, and at the end of the day, money talks, and the amount of money in football now, there can be swayed. Like, look at the Oliver thing with 20k going to one game in Saudi or whatever it was. Like, that's, you know, naturally, if you're kind of in that position, getting that money, and you're not used to that money for a game, when in reality you're probably making that over 6 months, and you're going to be a bit sweeter to those people giving you that through ball. Like I said, I'm not asking him, I'm not looking for him to come out and tell us that's not the case. That is the case. That is natural human instincts. That's not the question. The questions are, why allow that sort of things to happen? Because it opens the door to bias and favoritism and so on. And even the whole up north thing, where all the referees, if you look at the map of where they're all from one particular area of England, and that's been the case for a long time. Now, I'm not saying that works in the favor of up north clubs, because look at Liverpool. We're using them as an example now of wrong decisions going against them. But it just, a lot of things don't make sense with the setup of it. And then you got this Howard Webb guy who went from being a fraud of a ref to now running the whole thing and becoming somewhat of a C-list celebrity because he runs the referee association. It's crazy to me. I don't understand how far we've got with it all, but at the same time, these clubs in this league, like this summer, you have an option to bring in that Champions League offside format, right? Where it's there, it's in blue and yellow or whatever the colors are. It's, you know, essentially contrasting colors. You can see it's done on computer. Is he offside? You can easily see it there. This league has a chance to do that, and the majority of clubs don't vote for it. That's why I don't understand. That's why when the talk of corruption and things like that come in, it makes no sense why you wouldn't bring in a better application or software to help with decisions that have been going wrong, and then doubling down and moaning about it in the season. You have a chance to at least change some things, and that computerized UEFA Champions League one at least takes away the whole line. Is he going to draw the lines? Is the blue line the green line, or whatever I don't even know what colors they are. Is it a millimeter apart? No, you see it there, computerized. But why wouldn't they want to bring that in? That's why it's a big circle of I don't know. Like the clicks that a lot of these clubs also get out of these things as well.
Yeah,
it's deeper than what we've just seen today. Like the video today is mad, but
it's mad.
it's deeper than that. It's like, oh, well, that ain't a surprise to me. Like, it's a surprise he said it like you said on camera. I ain't a surprise that they think like that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think they actually voted for the offside thing, but I think they've delayed it for a certain amount of time for some reason, which I've gotten. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was voted in favor, but they delayed it for so many more. I could be wrong. Let us know in the comments. I'm sure they actually voted in favor of it last season. They didn't vote for it, but even with that, like you said, it's like it makes you wonder, like, why you would vote against it. It's almost like they're thinking, well, if we do that, it's clear. Yeah, it says, yeah, till next season, it's coming. They're testing it out. And I don't even know, like, why would it take so long to test it out? I'm pretty sure the computer just says offside or not offside. But it's like they want that doubt, because if it's still in the hands of humans, you can manipulate it. Once it goes to a computer, it's there in black and white. So you do have to wonder. And then I was even saying the other day, like, when you watch La Liga and you watch their content at the moment, I feel like I'm watching a movie, bro. 8K cameras, stats are flashing all over the pitch. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like, La Liga are years ahead of the Prem. And you watch the Prem and you think, you lot can't even give offsides. A man's got the FPL on his phone in the background and drawing lines to see if he's offside. Like, they're moving mad. So it does make you wonder, man. Richest league in the world, yet they seem years behind when it comes to like refereeing and technology. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this thing with the referee. But by the way, he looked like, man, he'd had a crazy night. I don't know what was going on, but he must have woke up the next morning and thought, you know, I've drank too many there. And his friends probably fell out with him and thought, yeah, I'm selling that video, man. He's done him dirty.
Peak. It's absolutely peak. That video. He's definitely made a nice change off of that, because that's a scandal. Yeah. That's a scandal in English football. Essentially, that's what stems from it. I know it's one man, but that there's a wider issue that this kind of falls within, because we've all been talking about week in, week out. You know, whether you're an Arsenal fan, Liverpool fan, Wolves fan, we've all had problems with them over the years. And to be honest, you talk about Sky. I mentioned that as well. The depth of field, the 8K cameras, the stats, the highlights come up, and the game's still on. Sky barely show a highlight of an incident anymore. Yeah. Barely. Like something happens, and then even the other day, something happened. They started showing the highlight. Then they cut the highlight before the highlight was even a highlight, because the goalkeeper took a short goal kick that didn't cause any problem. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. Like, what are you doing? But you know what it is? As you spoke there, whether it's Sky and English football, whether it's the FA, or whether it's fucking Arsenal, as long as they're getting the money in, they don't care. They don't care to fix that. If the money's coming in and the views and the clicks and all of these things are coming in for Sky, the FA or Arsenal Football Club, the owners who only care about the bottom line of all these organizations, that's all they're worried about. It rolls into Arsenal now as well, because that's obviously what we're going to get into. But bro, all of these major corps, if you continue funding them, if you continue supporting them, if you continue, not questioning anything they do, especially when it comes to Arsenal, we're saying here, then why wouldn't they continue doing it? It's just normal. Like, if you're a businessman and strictly care about business and not the club, the football, the history, or the fans and all that, that's all you're looking at.
100%. Bro, this morning, I spoke about it on my show. Like, Arsenal this morning, we drawn with Chelsea yesterday, which I think was a disappointing draw in the end, considering the circumstances. To me, we needed to win. They put out a tweet this morning, Robbie Williams concert at the Emirates. Buy your tickets. Then a couple hours later, they put the merch one out, the new merch. Obviously, that today, bro. So I said, raw, Monday morning, you just drawn with Chelsea. Fans are disappointed. Robbie Williams, let me entertain you, bro. Like what?
Angel.
I needed Gyökeres this morning, not Robbie Williams, fam. Can he play up front?
I needed Gyökeres, not Robbie Williams. It's true, but the same fans that will get onto me and you about, you know, negativity or all that will be the same fans that are ripping Tottenham for having a stadium built for Wizkid and Beyonce and that.
Yeah,
whilst we're doing Robbie Williams in our own backyard, whilst we've got 2 points from 12. Like, I'd call Robbie and be like, I don't think it's the right time to be, you know, we might have to delay this a little bit, mate. Yeah, can Angel wait a couple of weeks? Bro.
Yeah, Angel's a big song, you know, but we can't get a win at the moment. You're gonna have to wait till 2026, bro.
Let's delay that on us.
Yeah, but yeah, on us for real.
Bro. I've seen the comments as well where there was one here saying Saka and Rice gone for weeks, if not months, from Pratim. So I like to disengage after a game, after a match reaction, and you know. So I ain't seen Arteta's interview. I've seen a little on something about Saka and Rice, but I don't know really. Maybe you know more, because when I was watching your stream, you was talking about a little bit about what Arteta said after and whatnot. Is Saka and Rice injured, or is it an international break pull out sort of thing?
I think Rice is obviously related to that broken toe. I think he was suffering pain. They're saying Saka had some pain in his thigh, but
Rice, who played with a broken toe, was suffering pain. No shit, Sherlock's. We bought number 8 to play if need be. Instead, game week 11. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. Listen, I hear you. I thought you was doing the Proton sponsorship.
Download that, you mother. Nah.
Yeah, I was gonna add another month, you know what I mean? But no, yeah. Listen, international. Hopefully, you get them out the England squad anyway. But I couldn't believe that Odegaard's in the Norway squad.
Oh, is it? I didn't even. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, he's gone with Norway today. I'm like, bro.
I thought last week a thing came out where they said they're not gonna take him.
Yeah, but it came out today. He is, because Norway are level with 2 other teams in that Nations League. And obviously, these next 2 games, I think they need to win at least 1 or 2 of them. And he's the captain. And somehow they've probably swayed it and said, he's been out for 2 months. He could do with the game time to get fit. But obviously, if he gets injured again, it's crazy. So, yeah, and then this Sterling story's come out. I don't know if you've seen that one.
What, that he's not been impressed by him?
His levels in training are not up to the standard required. No
shit, Sherlock again. Someone bring Colombo in here, because we need to investigate into what's going on. Like, we didn't see this coming 3 months ago.
I have to admit, man, even the jerk chicken tax can't defend this one. I'm not even going to lie. Like Raheem, I said the other day, man, Raheem's got to learn Arabic. So does Trossard. Probably so does Gabriel Jesus as well. We've got Fly Emirates on the front of the shirt, man. It makes sense. Just get them all on an Emirates flight and get them in the Saudi League, bro. It's crazy.
Bro, what's JC saying Kudus links as well?
I saw that the other day. He's got a release clause, Annie, that's active this summer. I think he said it for Champions League club, but we could have signed the guy for like 30 odd million from Ajax. Now we probably have to pay 70 million for him. So, or 80 million.
Exactly.
So makes no sense.
And I hate the question, who would you bring in? Like, I'm forever. Lee asked me, who would you have brought in midfield? And it's nothing against the person asking the question, but the reason I hate it is because my answer more recently is I don't care. It's not my job. It's not up to me. I just know what we need in that. Like, we need something. People don't seem to like that. They call it a cop-out. For me, the cop-out is asking who. Because if I don't name someone, it's a cop-out. If I do name someone, the normal rhetoric would probably be, he wasn't available. It'd be hard to get him. As you know, we didn't try. So the reality is there's no answer to who would you have got that's going to lead to any conclusion or agreement. It's leading to a dead end. So, whoever it's Kudus, Gyökeres, I don't want to hear next summer. We need to do something in January to try, salvage something this season. I mean, Lee said it. The next 10 games, we've got to win them. And I mean, I'd probably go a lot further than that. But I guess you have to take each step as it comes. But the task we've left ourselves with is the first step ain't one win at this moment in time. The first step is a run of, let's say, 10 games. that that might not be looking too far. We have to build. I know the common rhetoric is take the next game. Yes, the players should, but 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins doesn't change the perspective of this season, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was looking at the fixtures today and I said, Arsenal are favourites for every league game they play until they play Man City on February the 1st. So in reality, but we know football doesn't work like that. And the form we're in at the moment is making it very difficult. If I'm really clutching at positivity here, which I don't do often, we have slightly improved in the last 2 games, but it's still not enough. Arsenal playing well and getting beat I don't take much joy or positivity out of that. Because to me, we played an Inter Milan side that rested half of their first team for the Napoli game. And we played a Chelsea that I honestly don't think Chelsea were that good yesterday. I really don't. I know it's Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which is probably harder than playing them at home, but I thought they were there for the taking. And we made players look far better than, like, Cucurella getting man of the match against Saka just got me angry, bro. I'll be honest. And I said some things. I said things about Saka in my match reaction. I said, look, I know this guy's loved and protected by the fan base, but, why is he limping off the pitch so often? Is he being targeted by players? Is he being overplayed? Has he got something psychological that, when things aren't going well, that's his escape route, People going, yeah, but 2v1. But all the best wingers you've ever watched get doubled up on. They all get kicked. They all play the majority of the games because you don't take your best players off.
We're doing the same thing we've done quite a lot in my Arsenal supporting life anyway. And that's just, especially since moving into the Emirates, where it's relying on players that that really should be second or third or fourth in line. Saka's the main man. Saka's the one we look at. Reason being because he has carried us at times. He has been our best attacker for years. He has progressed better than anyone else in the side, and so on. There's a list of reasons why that is. Like I could list the reasons of why at the time Ozil in that Arsenal side was so important, because around him the adequate level wasn't there. That's why he was important as he was. But in Ozil, we're talking about a different stratosphere of player to Saka in terms of Ozil there was no is he world class debate. But we give Ozil main man money, and then we fail to really bring in main men around him because we're already giving main man money to a guy that's not a main man. Now, I'm not bringing finances in for Saka yet because he's not on that. But with 2 years coming up, he's going to ask for a contract. Look at what Havertz is on. We're looking at 300+ K for Saka next contract. That's main man money. But it doesn't, main man money doesn't make you the main man. This dates back to Fabregas as well. I'm not even saying back then it was about main man money. Fabregas was looked at as, he's the next in line. He's going to take this club, turn the corner. But then he came out years later saying they relied on me a bit too much. I was looking around. There was no winners. What does he mean by that? There was no main men. Saka that's 2 examples. Fabregas and Ozil are 2 examples. Saka's a more recent example where we needed a gunman. We needed a killer. Like I said, we needed that player. You put your arm around and say, you're going to win us the league. The player that takes the attention away from a Saka. Takes the attention of other defenders, of other teams, because hold on, they've added that to the firing line. Shit, we can't just double up on Saka like it's nothing anymore because we've got to worry about him now. Instead, we double down on the nonsense. They figure out what we've done with Havertz. Martinelli, either they figured him out or he can't figure it out because he ain't. I know he scored the goal, but his part to play in the goal we conceded. I mean, come on, like the man's going just like what is actually going on. I know a lot of people are saying Partey, right centre back, whatever. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. Arteta, what are you doing? But at that moment, even Odegaard's turned to Martinelli and been like, how are you just letting him run through like that?
Yeah.
He ain't got a man, so what are you doing?
Yeah.
So all in all, I feel like Saka, I said he isn't scary the other day on Forever, and some people took offense because the Arsenal fan base. But that is true. I'm going to go. When we were great, Perez wasn't a main man. Henry was the main man. Bergkamp was a main man. Maybe Vieira and players like this. But Perez is one of our greatest wingers of all time.
Definitely, yeah.
But he wasn't. Imagine we put it all on Perez in that era. We wouldn't have won nothing. but we adequately built a team that
around.
you could have players like that and they could thrive because other players are getting attention. There's combinations. There's form of that player. There's form of this. With us now, it's Saka and Odegaard. Everything's on Saka and Odegaard in the attack. We haven't given the attack what it needs.
And you know what, bro? I think you made a great point there, because when I look at it, really, I think Saka was developing at Arsenal, but say, for example, Aubameyang was the main man, experienced player, was doing it. Saka was just left to go and, play a game, develop. What we've kind of done when Aubameyang's left is just thrown the club on Saka's shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
You carry this club now, but he's only probably at the time like 2021. I know he's 23 now. And he's had to carry the club, play every week. I spoke about this earlier today as well. I was saying, I think it's a bad thing that Saka has no real competition at this age. At 23, playing for Arsenal, knowing you're going to play every single time you're fit is a bad thing. You still need to be under pressure. You should still have another right winger saying, what, one bad game? I'm coming for you straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, for all the quality we had with Henry and Bergkamp, Kanu was there, hat-trick against Chelsea, Wiltord scored the winning goal at Old Trafford. These guys were top international players.
Mm-hmm.
I think we almost gave the keys to Saka too early, and it's like, yeah, I'm comfortable now. I can have bad games. I can come off when I want. And that's not all his fault, because like you said, the club should have built around him. When you look at City's success, Foden ain't the main man at City. Haaland's the main man. De Bruyne's the main man. These guys can just go about their business. Even Real Madrid, when they've had Ronaldo, Benzema, while the younger players have developed. Vinicius had a few years with Benzi. Then he kind of said, I'm the man now that you've gone. And I think that's what we needed to do with Saka. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we needed a couple top-class experienced players who say, do your thing. But I saw this thing the other day with Matty Cash, an interview. And he was saying when they used to play Liverpool, like when Liverpool were at their very best, he was like, you couldn't double up on Mane because then you might have had to double up on Salah. That's 4 players marking 2 players, and then Firmino's unmarked. So in the end, they had to just sign, you got to mark Mane, bro, and handle him. You know what I mean? And that's the problem at Arsenal now. You double up on Saka because Martinelli's not really at it, and Havertz ain't much of a goal threat. So I feel they can stop our attack quite easily at times. So when I'm talking about Saka, it's probably not actually his fault. He's been put in a situation that he shouldn't be in, really. So you got to look at the manager, really.
We need a player in all 5 attacking and semi-attacking positions. We need an 8, we need a 10, we need 2 wingers, and we need a striker. That's the position. Imagine that. We need a backup to Saka, right? We need a backup to Odegaard. We need a number 8, whether it's starting in front of Marino or backing him up if he does improve. We need a striker that puts Havertz on the bench, and we need a left winger that puts Martinelli on the bench. We need a player in all 5 attacking, semi-attacking positions, in number 8 included. That's crazy. How do you leave yourself like that? And we've got 22-man squad. So end of the season, Sterling back off to Chelsea, Jesus, Palmeiras or somewhere. That's a 20-man squad, and then you got 5 there left. But we're already talking about next season, and that's the problem. That's why I always mentioned last summer, because naturally, the more we fuck about, the more things feel like it's out of our grasp because we fucked about. We're gonna start looking at what's next. What about the manager? What about the summer? What next season? What about the owners? But we're going to stop looking back as much. But I'm going to continue banging on about looking back as much as looking forward, because this fan base forgets too much how silly we move at key stages of owning Arsenal and right now in the process. Because I'm sorry, you can't make profit in the final phase and then your sporting director leaves 2 months later. Something stinks. So... where's Josh now? Because he comes out and talks when, things are going well. He comes out and talks if it's sunny in LA. But I talk now, it's raining in London, bro. It's raining on and off the pitch.
It's raining.
Bro, say something, explain. Edu's gone. You told us to trust this, be excited. You said this is a core family, Edu, ex-Ars. Isn't it a big thing that he's gone with immediate effect?
Yeah.
Now it's international break. Talk to us. What's happened? Whilst you talk to us about Edu, talk to us about what happened in the summer as well, because the evidence is there. We're on the same points as Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton, off the top of my head. After 11 games. Oh, it's too early. It's only 11. One game away from a third of the season.
Yeah.
One game away from a third of the season is too early. All right. We ain't learned.
Bro, we're only 3 points ahead of Brentford. They're 11th. They're in the bottom half of the table.
We're 4 ahead of Man United, bro.
I can't believe that. I've been laughing at them all season. They're a game and a half away from us. It's wild.
And I'm not saying it's like we're not winning the title. That's that. I predicted that before game week 1. Yeah. So it looks stronger now, that prediction, than ever.
Yeah.
That's not to say I don't think there's not a roller coaster coming. Do I think it might be 7, 5, 4 points at one stage, 2 points, maybe we go 1 point ahead of amazing. But the amount of points that we have to make up now, margin for error is gone. All our margins for error have gone. And from a manager that likes to talk about fine margins all these years and replaces Ramsdale with Raya to save 2 points in a season or something, or whatever it was, how the fuck have we managed to go into a season and leave the fine margins up to the referees, or go so pragmatic when you go down to 10 men 10 minutes before halftime against Bournemouth? Now, what kind of fine margin management is this?
It's crazy, bro. And you know what? I spoke about it as well, about the attacking players not thriving under this manager. And this starts from the year that he came in. Aubameyang got worse. Lacazette got worse. Pepe faded out the door. Willian came in. He was a disaster. Trossard's progressively getting worse. Martinelli's getting worse. Jesus has completely fell off. The only guy that's actually thrived in the front three is Saka under this manager. Now, that's not coincidental. That means this manager's got a problem with operating a front three. And I honestly think in the summer, because we'd scored 91 league goals last season, I think he overestimated the quality in our front line, which is crazy. And we've always said that he's going to cut off his nose to spite his face for Havertz. He's desperate for Havertz to do well. You can see it. He doesn't take him off even when he's playing bad. You know, he said when he signed him, he was a midfielder. It was a Granit Xhaka replacement. He fails in that role after 6 months. Jesus getting injured. Okay, I'll put him up front, see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
We hit a hot streak collectively as a team from January to the end of the season. Havertz confidence high. His movement's pretty good. Usually gets a chance. He was scoring. I think it was more of an extended purple patch for Havertz than a reality of what he was going to do over a long period of time.
100%.
A lot of people were saying it to us in America, like, oh, Havertz can score 20 because he got 13 in 6 months. Well, it don't look like it because he hasn't even had a shot on target in his last 2 games. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't look a goal threat, especially against the bigger teams. And also, I think you have to question Arteta, the coach, because
100%.
We're always looking for the new shiny toy and go and get me Gyökeres for 80 million. But why, you know, we all heard when Arteta came to the club, he performed miracles with Sterling and Leroy Sané at Man City. That was the PR they were feeding us. Why come Martinelli hasn't improved under you? How come Trossard looks terrible all of a sudden when he was like the most clutch player at one stage? You know, so I think there's so many. What's happened to Declan Rice? Last season, player of the season. This year, doesn't look the same player. You got him in a different role that doesn't work. ESR at Arsenal, they're accusing him saying he's eating a cheeseburger on the bench.
Yeah.
He said, what? Is that a cheeseburger he's eating? The man's gone to Fulham, keeps scoring. They're saying, he could be in the next England squad. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden. Now, I'm not saying we should have kept TSR. I like TSR, but maybe it had fizzled out. But my thing was always, if you're letting ESR go, you better replace it. Because if Odegaard gets injured, what is your plan? If your plan's Nwaneri, because we were all hyped in LA, like, this kid's ready, man. Throw him in the way Man United threw Maino in, or how we threw Wilshere or Fabregas. 7 weeks out injured, he ain't started one game in the league. So that wasn't your plan. You didn't trust him. You've tried to just put Havertz there, put Trossard there, you muddle your way through. So I don't understand where the planning was. Surely for a guy so meticulous, Arteta said in the press conference, nobody works harder than me last week. He said nobody is working harder than I am, to be successful in the time and all the effort he puts in. So how could you not have sat there and gone, by the way, Mikel, if Odegaard gets injured, who plays attacking midfield? What was your plan? It's like there was no plan.
I hate that they don't allow regulars into press conferences during the season, because how has he not been asked whether he looks back at the transfer window and feels like we were like, that's a headline question. He'll get all the clicks, but it's all these people that get allowed entry during the season. It's tailored. It's tailored. Yeah. You can't ask this, you can't ask that, because that is the only question I want to know. That's the only, because I don't give a shit how much you're working. It's 90 minutes on the pitch that really we all care about and should care about. So what are you banging on about? The work you're doing and the work you're doing. But you get paid handsomely for the work you're doing. You're one of the highest paid managers in the world, second to only Pep in the league, I think.
Yeah, it is only Pep, yeah.
Well, that's why you work hard, mate. Like Roy Keane said, it's a given, right? Like, bruv, all this effort thing and all this new generation do is talk about working hard. People just they fall on it. Don't tell me you're working hard. Tell me your analysis of the problem.
Yeah.
Not that we dominated against Chelsea. We didn't dominate against Chelsea.
Well, he thinks we did. It's. The thing what's difficult at the moment is we don't really know what direction we're going in. As much as like we're 4 points off like mid-table, we're 9 points off the top. It's like I honestly couldn't tell you where Arsenal are going to be at the end of the season, because realistically we should make a big signing in January, but nobody trusts this ownership to do that. You can they're putting out stories already going Sesko in the summer. The stuff they're going to say. January window's difficult. We've heard it all before. Do you know what I mean? And you just think the Edu situation, that seems like that isn't just a straightforward football decision. This guy's banged that drum. We met the guy in LA. He spent 5-10 minutes just capping about the process and the journey that we're on and where they want it to end. If you'd won that league title and you went to Forest, I would understand it, bro. Mission complete.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Theft Auto settings. You finished it, got paid, you're done, bro. You didn't win the title. You've played for Arsenal. You got a very big job, considering you didn't do well at Corinthians. You didn't do much with the Brazil national team. You got more and more powerful at Arsenal, and you've walked out after a game, not even during the international break. You just said, I'm going today. You know what I mean? Like, and people don't think there's nothing in that. Something is not right in the background if he's just walking out in the middle of the season. So what's going on? And then the Athletic putting out stories saying, Arteta is not really challenged by Edu or the Kroenkes. He's becoming this mini Wenger and he's starting to oversee more things at the football club. And the worry is, it got to that point with Wenger, didn't it? Where you felt like the Kroenkes are giving him everything. He's saying, I don't want to buy that player because he's too expensive. He's dominating everything at the club. And it feels like Arteta's getting to that point. You was the head coach, then you was the manager. You're hiring people around you that, all the people that are working for him are like his people. Steve Round got sacked last season as the assistant because they're saying he had an argument with Arteta about goalkeepers. He got rid of him and bought in Carlos Cuesta, who's obviously quite a young assistant. These guys are not going to call out Mikel Arteta. They're in big jobs that he's put them in. So if he's surrounding himself with yes men, the club's being run by a guy that 5 years ago was assistant manager at Manchester City. I think that's a dangerous situation to be in. You got an owner that's never won in football. You got a sporting director who'd never won, who's left, and you got a manager who's never won more than an FA Cup. And you've surrounded him with coaches that he's cherry picked. And now they're saying he's going to have a say in the new sporting director. So we're being linked with Thomas Rosicky. from Sparta Prague, who he played for Arsenal with. Thomas Rosicky, by the way, is 10 points behind Slavia Prague. They're great rivals in Czech Republic. So, you know what I mean? Love for the love, people, and download Proton VPN right now.
Take up that special offer right now.
Use the code Arteta 5 years to get 20% off.
Oh. You're not wrong though. I mean, bro, when you deep it and you think how long, you know, it's been since our last trophy and how long we are into this process now, the rumors that the power is getting stronger and stronger, it does make me a bit nervy that. Not nervy because it would be typical, because it's not like the ownership want to be hands-on. The Wenger era should have told us what they want. They just want to manage us qualifying for Champions League and making that money for them. Once he stopped making Champions League football, that's when they got rid. Because people like to say, you got rid of Wenger, he was getting you Champions League football. He wasn't for our last 2 years. Last Champions League fixture was a smoking. I mean, and I think that's not the right word for the 10-2 against Bayern. So as soon as their money and bottom line was being affected, 2019 was the first year we started making a loss since they owned the club. So, you know, full stop, 2019. That was off the back of the era with Wenger and too much power and what's the sporting direct, the traffic lights and all of this stuff he was saying. So we moved on to Emery, head coach, sporting director comes in, Raul Sanllehi, doesn't work. Arteta comes in. Here you go. Here you can be manager now. But we've got a sporting director in Edu. It's just all a facade. Like, it's just all like, here's a couple ex-players. Listen, Arteta's done his thing. I'm not going to lie in terms of, I didn't even expect him to be able to, because how can you expect a guy that's never managed to come into a club at the time he came into the club, where it was a mess? I didn't expect him to even turn the club around to the point where I'm expecting us to challenge and win league titles. But he's done that. Credit to him for that. You know, and I think he will be successful at some point in his management career. But that doesn't mean because of that fault we should hold on till finally he learns enough to be successful. I mean, this season, the major was the demand, and the demand he puts on himself as well. I keep telling people this ain't just pressure from fans or pressure from who. He said it himself 4 years ago. He said that Arsenal should be challenging for trophies. We're not going to be happy till we start winning them. He said it himself. 5 years is a quarter of the period since the Emirates, since moving in, since we haven't won a league title. A quarter of it. Wenger had a lot of credit in the bank. So if the Kroenkes are going down that route where it's like, we're not gonna bother you too much. Make Champions League football. Try win the league if you can with the budget we give you. But as long as you're happy, we'll continue upping your money every year, because Wenger was the highest paid manager at one point. Highest paid manager, finishing top 4, telling us it's the best football on show. Come on. Like,
and do you know the thing with me with Arteta? And listen, everyone who watches knows that I'm not a big fan of Arteta, but I do respect the fact that he put us back challenging. But the thing with me is challenging. If you just continue to challenge, we've seen before at Arsenal that team gets pulled apart. And just on the weekend, as an example, Militao did his ACL again. He's out for 9 months. Now, we know there's already Madrid-Saliba links. We've been in them situations with Wenger, top 4 challenging. Barcelona, okay, we'll take Fabregas. United will take Van Persie. Sanchez, Alexis Sanchez to United. These clubs will not leave us alone forever. They will come cherry-picking players eventually. My thing with Arteta is, you've put us in a situation where we're competing, and that's great. But we are a club that depending on your age bracket, we want to see Arsenal winning. Well, everybody wants to see us, but obviously, depending on your age, you grew up seeing Arsenal winning trophies. The question with Arteta now is, you've ticked a box, you've got us challenging. You have had money and time, but you have got us there. Now you've got to get over the finish line. If you can't get over the finish line, the worst thing this club can do is hang on to that manager so long that this team starts to be broken, and then you get forced to get rid of him. Because let's be real, the only thing that will probably get Arteta sacked is missing out on Champions League. Because like you say, you affect the bag, they will act. But we still look like we'll probably get top 4, although it's not certain the way we're playing. But my thing is, if you can't get us over the finish line, Mikel, you've got to give this team to somebody else while they can come in and still walk into a good team. You can't, because people say, Slot's walked into a good Liverpool team. That's why he's thriving. Arteta walked into an Arsenal team that was failing at the time, which is where I do give him credit. But you can't hang on to this team for too long without winning major trophies. And he said 2 years ago, I nearly quit after the 8 points. I nearly quit. I questioned whether I was the man to get us over the finish line. Now we're struggling. We're 9 points off in November. So you should be questioning yourself even more now than you did then.
Yeah, because it was that was his first season he said that. I mean, his first season of challenging
in the title. Yeah. Is he going to walk away from 15 million a season? Does he love Arsenal that much? Probably not. Nobody really is going to walk away from that contract. So my just worry with Arteta is it feels like we've stagnated a little bit this season. I don't actually think we've gone backwards. I think we've just stood still while Liverpool have took a step forward. You know what I mean? And the craziest thing is, and we've said it so many times on here, bro, imagine going to war with Man City for 2 years, and the third year they have that drop-off that you've waited for, and we're not even the team that capitalizes on it. Liverpool go in front of us and nick the league. I mean, if they won the league, that is an absolute disaster for our football club.
Of course it is. No, I was hearing about Klopp and the people likening Arteta's first few years to Klopp. Imagine whilst we're still likening it to Klopp and saying, yeah, 4th season he done this, and another manager comes to Liverpool and does it before. Please, all hell will break loose. I'm not saying it's acceptable to even to lose it to City this year, because I'm looking at City thinking they don't look like champions, but that's by the standards they've set themselves, because 85 points used to win leagues, year in, year out before they came about. So it would be a disgrace. And you know what? I've been thinking more and more about Nicolas Pepe recently, and people might be like, why? Because with Nicolas Pepe, we talk about Saka's backup an awful lot. Reece Nelson, he got a new contract. He was never trusted. I just feel like he was a yes man to Arteta in a way, like, yeah, come on and do this for me. If you do this, then that's we're good. Whereas Pepe was more of a out of the box player. He's not someone you kind of put into a box and make him for 90 minutes do exactly what you say, because he's best when given a bit of freedom to express himself a little bit. I think we're at the stage now where we need a couple players with freedom to express themselves a little bit. So I'm thinking about Pepe in that scenario, because how did Arteta manage that? Because I look at a lot of Aubameyang. I understand why he went. I get it. Yeah. I even agree with it. Guendouzi, I understand why he went. I even agree with it. If I put myself in your shoes and this little guy's chatting shit, he doesn't want to apologize, you're out of it. I don't care. So I get that. But this one, I didn't really understand. It didn't really make too much sense, because, yeah, he was a dud at 70 million, but he was better than Reece. He had a bit more about him. He could do something from nothing. He could take a free kick, but he was never, ever relied upon. Is that because of the type of footballer he was? Which worries me, because that's, in my opinion, the type of footballer the attack needs. Someone that's going to do a step over, drop a shoulder, take on 2 men and beat them. We need that sort of a star. And I'm not saying Pepe wasn't a star. I'm just saying that we both said Rodrigo, yeah? If Rodrigo's available in the summer, but I don't know if Arteta would sign a Rodrigo. And I'm not even saying Rodrigo ain't an Mbappe, for example, or a Vinicius in terms of star confirmed, studied, quite like on and off the pitch. Rodrigo's more of a under the radar star. But even that, I don't think, I haven't seen anything to indicate that he wouldn't mind bringing that sort of person, character, player into the side. And when our side's screaming for that, I don't know, bro.
Bro, for me, listen, I totally agree with you. I remember we did Supporters Club at YouTube Space when it was Zaha and Pepe. And I think, Emery was the manager, wasn't he? First of all, I don't think Arteta likes those kind of players, because I think he micromanages, overcoaches players at times. If you look at Arsenal's front three or all the attacking players at Arsenal now, The one player that's got a bit of sort of unpredictability at times about him, I would say, is Martinelli. The one that will probably get at your fullback. Don't get me wrong, he might run the ball out of play, but he will have a go at you.
Mm.
And let's not get it twisted. He's tried to replace Martinelli. He wanted to drop 70, 80 million on Mudryk. And he brought in Trossard, maybe Trossard, but he definitely wanted Mudryk. And we know he wanted Nico Williams this summer. So Martinelli would have been dropped because Martinelli is not a high IQ football player. He's an athlete, which is why Arteta probably doesn't like him. The only maverick that really we had at the club was more Aubameyang, but he just walked in the door, Arteta, and he was on fire. The first chance he got, he was out. Obviously, Aubameyang played himself, but he got him out. I think he doesn't like players like Pepe. Number one, you can't be coached because you're a bit of a free spirit. You do step-overs. You're unpredictable. I don't think he likes that. He likes the coaching manual play like this. And also, you've got that little bit of ego. You could see that Pepe was a bit, shut your mouth. You know what I mean? He looked like he had that kind of attitude. You know, Aubameyang was, you've seen it in the documentary. Oh, come on, Gaffer, give us 2 days off and all that. I think Arteta hates that. But I think as a manager, you've got to learn to deal with people like that, because if you look at players over the years that have been those mavericks in title-winning teams, there might be difficult characters. Rooney was getting in scandals. You know what I mean? Henry was apparently very difficult to manage at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And even like Diego Costa and players, you could tell they're difficult players to manage, but those guys can win you titles, win you trophies. So, yeah, listen, I totally agree with you. We need somebody in that front three that's unpredictable, that can scare people.
We ain't saying Pepe, people. We ain't saying bring Pepe back.
No.
What I'm saying is, since Pepe, it's been Reece Nelson and now Sterling. Like, with all due respect, I mean, if you give me all three of them to put on right now, I'm picking Pepe.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm picking Pepe.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It's crazy. So that's my why did that end the way it did when he wasn't even given that much of it? Listen, Saka's progress around that time was incredible. So that goes somewhere in explaining it. But even in the backup sense, he wasn't really. I just feel like it's the player he was and the ability to control as much as possible, because that's exactly what it is. In these systems, everyone's controlled. Everything's and all of our signings recently, especially with Havertz, Rice, and Marino and all that, you can see the cogs and where they fit.
Yeah.
But we need the proper cog, the big star one that's going to turn, and everything else turns with it nice and smoothly. So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that.
The conversation's a disgrace. Reece is better than Pepe. I mean, Reece has been good at. Where is he? Fulham.
He played well there. I've only seen him play once. Was it the other night? Was it Brentford? He looked good in that game. Him and Smith Rowe.
I read something on him last week. I haven't even watched him like that. I read something on him saying he started well over there. So
I think that's his level, though. I'm not like looking at him thinking get him back. I'm thinking maybe you cash in on him if Fulham were prepared to pay a decent dough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, please, let's move, man. Let's move.
Yeah.
I mean, the 5 players, like I said, we need to sign across January and the summer. They're all 10, 2 wingers, 8 and a 9. I don't want. If I see another centre back come into this club,
there'll be a left back, a centre back, maybe even a goalkeeper.
Bro, that's why I mentioned the Raya Ramsdale thing, because I know Raya's better than Ramsdale. I get that, but when you see how many keepers have come in and out this club in the last 5 years, and how many centre backs, and how many attackers, it just it doesn't make sense. I'm tired. I'm actually tired. I want to see Calafiori up front soon. I mean,
I'll take it. It'll probably do more than Havertz.
Yeah, bro. They don't even get me started on that guy, because people mistake me saying he's improved and praise for me thinking he's good enough for Arsenal. Like, there was times at the end of last season, people were like, apologize to Havertz. No, he's still not good enough. He's done enough for me to say he can be a good squad player, but don't rely on him. Like with Trossard, don't rely on Trossard. What do? We go rely on Trossard. What happens? He falls off, and we're not even happy with him at the moment. There's some players you just have to use as an impact player. And Havertz ain't that guy. I don't care what space he makes, and I don't care what headers he wins, with all due respect. I really don't give a shit. I want my striker to strike, or I want my striker to to ensure my wingers are getting the 20th season or as close as possible. He does neither of those things. Neither. In fact, Martinelli with Jesus was the best Martinelli we've seen.
Yeah.
Martinelli with Havertz, Trossard replaces him. We don't know what the hell's going on the left side. But don't get to it's not only Havertz, but that's our highest paid player. That's the player Saliba's going to look at and say, I want more than him. Saka's going to look at and say, I want more than him. Odegaard's going to look at and say, I want more than him. These three guaranteed are going to turn around and say, I want more than him. And they'd be right to say that. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, 300K players. Talk to me about how many clubs pay 3, 4, 5 man 300K. Not many.
Can't do it.
It's going to be a roundabout wage structure. That's going to be a problem again. We need to get.
Bro, you know, with the Havertz thing, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, improved. I'm just saying it as it is, bro. That's a dead signing, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't. Because he's our player and he hit a little run of form. You try and be more positive about it. You know, you've got to as a fan. Otherwise, you look silly if you're disrespecting a guy who's playing well. Mm-hmm. He had a decent spell last season, but the guy is not a good signing. Like, there's been strikers at the club that I've wanted out of the club that I still think were better than him. He's not a striker. He doesn't look like scoring. Yeah, he might look all right if you got two wingers that were scoring loads of goals, but he ain't good enough. We are never, ever winning a Premier League title with Havertz up front. Chelsea couldn't wait to get that guy off the wage bill. They couldn't wait. And then Robbie was saying, I remember when we was arguing in America, but Real Madrid looked at him. Yeah, they looked at him and decided against it, bro. They didn't want him. They actually played last season with no striker and won the league and the Champions League. They put Jude Bellingham basically as a false 9 and won the double over Havertz. They went on loan. I remember they wanted him like as some cheap bargain basement. We paid nearly what they bought him for. They paid 75 M's. We gave him 60. Yeah, like if you turn up at Chelsea and Chelsea want this guy off the wage bill, you should have been like, we'll give you half price. You paid 75. We'll give you 30, 40 mil for him. 65 mil, bro. Top earner. And like you said, it's good because I'm glad when you do talk about the earnings, because that does have a knock-on effect. Like you said, if you've got to keep Saliba, I'm saying if I'm Saliba, I'm more important than Havertz. He's on 275. I'm on 150. I want 300 bags. Do you want your centre-back on 300 grand a week? You don't. So it has a knock-on effect. So yeah, all that tippy-toeing around Havertz, he's a decent player. That signing was a dead signing, man. I'm sorry.
100%.
Rubbish.
It's always going to come, but that one's it could come back to bite us even more because that wage, like you said, others asking for it. Me saying he's shown enough to be a squad player doesn't mean I'm happy that a squad player is on 275k. So it's deeper than even me just thinking he's improved or I'm happy with his output. Because then that's when I bring in the wage, the expectation, the big game record, and can you do it on your own? Can you create something on your own and win it for us? Because that's what I expect from our highest paid player, attacking player, at the very least.
Yeah.
Of course it's a dead signing, bro. Like, that's going to haunt us. That's going to haunt us for a long time. And we look back on it now, and Rice and Havertz were our Alisson and Van Dijk, essentially.
Yeah.
Because that was the highest paid player in Havertz and highest fee on a player in Rice. That was meant to be the final two pieces for the Premier League jigsaw, but here we are.
Yeah, man.
It is what it is. Let me get some super chats in anyway because they have built up a little bit. Goldenelli says, big up both. The only sensible YouTubers love Goldenelli. And Jazzy Jeff says, can Robbie check if Draxler's available in January?
Yeah, no, that profile picture, I remember that as well. Man had the shirt the other way around just to let people know,
Bro, that day I flipped, bro. That day he left Sanchez on the bench, and by the time I come out of the game, he's saying, what did Wenger say? I don't need to tell you why I left Sanchez on the bench. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't need to tell us? We've just got smoked in Munich. I've just come to Anfield to get smoked again, and you're there cheeky saying, I don't need to tell you why Sanchez didn't play. Get the fuck out. That was sickened, man. Evra was right. Evra's right and has been right about a lot of things he said about Arsenal, but he still makes me sick, that guy.
Yeah.
He's really annoying. Nah, that chicken licking guy is.
Yeah. From then I said, nah, this guy is a weird guy, man.
Yeah, but he is right. But he could be right about his own club by saying next season. You could say next manager. Episode 7, you could say, since Fergie. Faisal says, came for CT scan segment, stayed for the therapy. Big up. Come on, Faisal. At least no more Arteta terror football for 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm so happy for an international break, bro. Honestly, I've never said that. Nations League, man. I can't wait.
Bro, I can't believe they're bringing Odegaard out for Nations League, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. Oh, Rude's left Van Nistelrooy. I mean, Van Nistelrooy's left United.
Has it?
Yeah, just come through now.
Amarim said, nah, bro, that's my club. You're going.
Yeah. The player said, nah, keep him, man. We like him, man. Nah. Big up Lee, man. Hope you're good, my bro. He says, if Glock 9 comes in January, do we honestly do better? I think, Curtis, you have your say in a sec, but I think we improved the squad for sure. If he hits the ground running, we definitely improve. But I feel like the damage has been done already. But because you're slyly thinking about next season already. Like if you're like me and you think this season's done in terms of the Premier League, you're naturally, as the days and weeks go past and the games go past, you're going to think more and more on what do we need to do from here to be ready next season. Obviously, a striker is one of those. And if you can bring a striker in January, the striker in January, you give him 6 months to find his feet, to hit the ground, like Aubameyang did, for example. And that could give them the best platform rather than him coming in the summer. Then I hear our fans saying, give him 3 months, give him 6 months, give him 9 months. Fuck all of that. January, 85 mil release clause, bang that down. We made profit in fucking summer. Bang down 85 million. Get him in 6 months, find your feet. Next season, let's go.
Yeah, 100%. They need to try and activate that in January. It's just my only worry now is he got to a point where his agent might be telling him, wait until the summer. You could end up at City, Barcelona. You know, would he actually come to Arsenal? But we should at least be wording him up.
Yeah, when you said City, I said, nah, Haaland. But when you said Barca, listen, Lewandowski's, he's absolutely smoking right now. But he is 37, so there is a pathway there. And obviously, players, Barcelona, the history and the tradition and all of that. You are right. We might have missed our opportunity, but no better way to test it than in January, where I know Barca can't spend 85 million in January. City won't bring in a striker. So let's try be a bit shrewd here and bring him in. If he wants, you know, at the end of the day, we're giving Havertz 275. If Gyökeres wants 300, that's not my business. That's your business.
He's on 45 grand a week, you know, Gyökeres.
No, to bet he'll be humble enough. I don't think he'll look at Havertz and say, I want that. He'll probably come in. We could probably get him for 200k a week, if I'm honest.
Easy. You know what I mean? That's 4 times his
And you
wage.
offset your losses with Havertz there because you bring in a proper striker that's on a wage that really, if he transfers his form currently and over the last few years into the league, then you're paying him less than his value. Because if he starts banging in 20 in the league and you're paying him 200k, you're nice. You're very nice. You're in a good position. So you can offset some of the Havertz damage.
Yeah.
Dial Square says, if Arteta fails, Kroenkes also have to go. Enough chances. Yeah, they have to go, you know, first alongside. I mean, I'm tired of them being given a new... don't get twisted. If Arteta fails and then Arteta is eventually sacked, Josh will probably come out with a Mohican and a new interview and people will be like, it's a new man. Or he'll put his cousin in place and it'll be Jacob Kroenke. It's a new man. Yeah, let's see what he's about. It might have a little smile at people like aura, side profile, and then everyone will trust the new process. Forget all of that. Kroenke is in the bin. I don't care if it's him, his son, cousin, wife, grandma. I don't give a shit. I don't want the Kroenke name associated anymore. Like, you know, their last roll of the dice had to have been, well, we're full owners now, so be excited. All right, cool, brother. Be excited.
Yeah.
Big up Jashar in the building. OG, yes, brothers, bless. The mud we're in is kind of thick and sticky. Wait a minute, it's not mud. We've got the shit emojis there, though. If you are an audio listener, that guy.
Yeah, because you was listening in and not looking at the screen, you're thinking, what kind of P. Diddy business going on here? This guy talking about.
Yeah. Oh man. We got Max in the chat as well. Hope you're good, brother. Don't forget that Coleman tried getting a goalkeeper. Oh well, we did get one Neto, innit? And he's cup tied. Can you believe? Can you believe that cup tied Neto thing might be up there with Kim Kallstrom?
What, broken back?
Yeah, because they're as useless as each other. Because Neto we needed for Carabao Cup, really.
And he can't play in it.
And Kallstrom, we needed a striker that hasn't got a broken back. We bought a midfielder with a broken back. Actually, that's still worse, still, but
it is. But Norbert Neto, you know,
bro, that signing is mad. According to Robbie, listen, you take Robbie's pronunciation of players' names, then you won't be getting nowhere in analysis. I'll tell you that much.
No, you won't.
Big up Suj in the building. Big up Turkish Curtis and the community. These 2 a.m. lives are going to be the end of me. If Premier League clubs target the best players in the world, why can't the league, PGML, MOL target the best referees? Because they don't want to. I actually think they're happy with some of the clicks and drama this creates. And then I think the problem is who is in charge of determining what metrics make up the best referees, and then in turn finding those referees that have those metrics, actually whatever. It needs to be reset. You know how English football reset in that German era with Ozil, and that they looked around and said, what do we do different? And from grassroots, they reset it all. And now you're seeing a generation. It's got to be reset, a big reset. Jay says, are we accepting that our performances are dependent on Arteta having his first 11? His management of injuries is as bad as Ten Hag, as he had it worse. Shout out Turkish for calling out Tobes smiling. Yeah, brother, man. I'm there on a watch along, and Tobes is smiling like they didn't just get beat by Ipswich. Like those watch alongs are peak when you're not winning. You know, it's peak.
You don't need that banter, do you? At times like that.
Nah, and bro, if Proton want to know why it was like that, Tobes is definitely one of the key reasons, bro. But yeah, I mean, Lee Judges has mentioned that recently. It's easy to manage when you've got your strongest 11. You know, in context, I think Arteta. I think he's done well. Look, when Trossard came in, backed up Martinelli, I think that was good. When Havertz moved to striker, I think that, you know, we saw what that done for us last season. So I feel like he has shown that he can work with things, but we left ourselves so light in the summer that there's nothing to work with but old things that have been figured out, like Trossard, who's great off the bench, who comes in towards the end of maybe the last 2 seasons and scores some goals. This season, we rely on him. We're playing him week in, week out in another position that we haven't played him in much at all before. It just stinks.
Yeah.
So, a few more actually. We're over an hour, so 2.3. I hit the like button, people. 1,000 likes.
Come on.
Let's do that before I threaten you and you know the rest. Why always me says, remember Turkish when I said we need to buy Osimhen and you said, am I all right? If we were serious club, we would have bought a second Osimhen. I don't know when I said this, probably this summer, but maybe you mentioned it when I'm talking about it. So listen, come the end of it, Isak on loan to Galatasaray. I don't know why we didn't do that. On loan, there's no risk. I mean, we brought in Sterling on loan, for God's sake. Let's just see. So we could have done that, and it is a joke thing that we didn't. But the reality is, I wasn't expecting us to wait until the last day to do any sort of business. Isak, Gyökeres, they're the two that I still, you know, I still want. But again, I don't care who you bring in at this point, because it's who you didn't bring in the summer. Because it's, you know, I'm in November talking about transfers for 25, 26. Like, it's
mad.
It's a sad story. T-Dot says Smith Rowe looking like the old Smith Rowe under Emery. He has a nice connection with Iwobi, Vieira, Havertz, Marino. Oh, sorry. He has a nice connection with Iwobi. Vieira, Havertz, and Marino are not on his level. I mean, Marino I'll put aside because I think different type of 8 midfielder. ESR I'd say 10, but in terms of Vieira, Havertz, yeah. I mean, Havertz in the 10 is a joke, and Vieira in the 10, I mean, you might as well put an 11-year-old there because...
Oh dear.
He used to get moved to, bro. And I
Yeah,
didn't. On the ball, he was actually decent, but come on,
it
bro.
was.
Like,
Yeah,
bulk
he
up
was
a little.
weak.
Come on, man. Even Eddie tried to bulk up a little. It didn't do nothing for him, but he bulked
No,
up a little.
yeah,
You know what I thought of the other day? Yeah, when I made a bet. Remember, I made a £50 bet with Robbie 2 years ago. Eddie to score 10 goals. Remember?
yeah,
10 league goals, bro. For some reason, I was just remembering it because when I'm vexed, I'm starting thinking about the nonsense that fans have been
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Bro, I bet him at the beginning of the 22-23 season.
yeah. Eddie wouldn't get 10.
Yeah, I don't think he's got 10 since.
He ain't even got one at Palace in the
He ain't
league.
got one at Palace. He had 5 last year, and I'm sure he had 4 the year before. So since I made that bet with Robbie in 2022, he's had 9 goals across 3 seasons. But sorry, I'm going off subject a bit, but it's like this. I can't believe what some of us do. Sometimes I wish footballers reach out to greats for coaching in the off season, like NBA players, to up their own game. Big up Turks and Curtis. That'd be interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Saka link up with Messi in Miami on off season. That I'd be like, all right, cool.
yeah, yeah,
That wouldn't be such a bad thing.
yeah,
Havertz linking up with R9. That's a bit of a weird one, but I don't know how that would work. Havertz would have to link up with Kevin Nolan, I think.
Man went from R9 to Kevin Nolan. Yo, Kevin Nolan was at elbow. Yo, we used to hate Kevin Nolan and Kevin Davis and Bolton, bro.
Who wins duels and creates space better than Kevin Nolan? Someone tell me,
bro. Them Bolton man there, we used to hate going to the Reebok Stadium, man. We
bring
got
Nolan and Davies together and just say
Ah.
Havertz. Yeah, work your magic, man.
Just
your magic.
elbowing people, man. Yo.
To be honest, Heskey is probably the best of that type of. But even I mean that's even disrespect to Heskey because Heskey originally was cold, but then he got turned into just like a support striker, just head it down and chest it down. But yeah, you can't be pulling up Henry to Havertz and saying teach him.
No, you can't teach him nothing, man. He ain't a magician.
Day.
You need David Blaine, bro. You know what I mean? You need a magician.
Put him in a glass box and hang him up for 20 days. And
you know what I mean? Hang him in London, man. Make him drink water and just.
Hey, Troy says our players have real talent. Get rid of the manager and bring in someone who will make the players great again. Well, to be honest with you, the players haven't been great because none of them have won a league title. So the great again side, yeah, I'll miss out the again, but make the players great. I'll agree with that. Abdullah says writing us off is a bit premature. We went into last January 5 points behind a fire in Liverpool. Don't get me wrong, it is going to be difficult, but we can start runs and close the gap to 5 before January. The team needs our support. I agree. You know, I mean, I agree with the fact. The fact was we was 5 points behind Liverpool last January and we finished 7 points above them. The thing is, even with my concerns at the start of last season with fluidity and transition, we still dominated every game. We still won them, majority of them. We still looked very good and equipped to put on a title charge until Fulham and West Ham back to back. But then that's when our run started straight after that. Whereas this season, we're not dominating. We're struggling to create chances. So, I can't like it. Like Curtis, you're saying, yeah, you probably agree.
No, I agree, man. This season, it's just we've stumbled through a lot of the games, haven't we? And the alternatives don't look great. That's the worrying thing. It's like the guys coming off the bench. Jesus looks worse. Trossard looks worse. Waneri, you didn't trust him. Calafiori injured. Like, that's the other issue. You're not going to get through a season with the starting 11. The guys off the bench are not affecting the game either.
It is all mad. Let me get these last 2 super chats. And I heard Zekai crying as well, so I need to go and see what he's moaning about. Red Dust says, people need to understand that fans as individuals are simply at different stages in regards of our relationship with the club. If you've been on the journey following the club long enough, the frustrating feeling will keep on building up. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Lamin says, big up my bros. Pressure make diamonds, and according to the diamond tester, it's not looking good. Back to the R&B playlist, my guys. No more drama. Anthony Hamilton. Why? Neo so sick. When that playlist is out, it's
Yeah, man. That
deep
OG R&B, man.
deep thinking.
Yeah.
Rush says, got all my family to get the VPN too. Are we cool? We're more than cool, my brother. We're more than cool. Dinishan says, do you both remember Michu from Swansea? Baller. Yeah, I remember Michu. I mean, yeah, two seasons he was cold, and then all of a sudden he just fell off the radar. But yeah, it is what it is. I think that was the last super chat. Actually, there's one more here. Wait. Can DG be on an upcoming? Potentially. I mean, me and Curtis are still trying to make sure we're delivering this once a week, every week at the right time. Plus, we need to do an intro. Plus, we want to do a bit in person as well. So, I'll keep it in mind as I always do. But listen, you lot keep supporting as you always do. We're gonna call it a night here, a day here, an afternoon here, whatever time you're tuning in from. Suj, go to bed. It's late where you are, that's for sure. And everyone else, hit the like button first and foremost. 1,000 likes, please, as we exit. Go subscribe to Curtis Shaw TV. Road to 100k. Road to 100k here as well. So just show some love all around, people. We'll be back next week at some time. Maybe not early next week because it's international break, but maybe a Wednesday, Thursday show or something like that. I'll talk to Curtis. We'll get that set. If you're subscribed, you'll know when it is. Curtis, you're doing anything else this week? Just the regular lives? Or are you taking a break?
Regular lives, little break. I'll do some pre-recorded stuff as well, man, and just tick over, man. You know what I mean? Is it Big Six tonight? What time is that?
9 o'clock, bro. 9 o'clock.
It's a tough show for you again, but then Tottenham were even worse, so you might get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, with Big Six, I was born in the mud when that show created. You know, the reason it's Big Six is Arsenal finishing outside the top six. So, yeah. So don't worry, I'm well equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, deal with that. Yeah.
My bro, enjoy the international break. People enjoy the break, Arsenal fans in particular. And yeah, reset, and we'll come back again next week and see what Forest is all about at the Emirates. Love for the love, people. Tune in again soon. We're out. Peace.